Well, boys, I reckon this is it.
Stanley Kubrick's black comedy, Dr. Strangelove, is packed with iconic moments that have stood the test of time. Images and phrases that perfectly distill the overarching themes of the film into bite-sized nuggets.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Precious bodily fluids. You're gonna have to answer to the Coca-Cola Company.
Blast off!
The funniest moment for me remains the president's phone call with the Soviet premier.
Hello, Dmitri.
Which has Peter Sellers channeling the button-down comedy stylings of Bob Newhart, who just a few years earlier had the first comedy record to reach #1 on the album charts.
Well, it's great hearing your voice again. It sure is, Walt.
I'm coming through fine too, eh? Good, then. Well, then, as you say, we're both coming through fine. Good. Well, it's good that you're fine, then, and I'm fine.
But perhaps the most significant moment in Dr. Strangelove is not one that immediately comes to mind. It's quite subtle and not particularly funny, but it's highly instructive and endlessly relevant. And I think it holds the key to what Kubrick and co-writers Terry Southern and Peter George were trying to accomplish with the film, which is nothing less than cultural deprogramming. It happens at the end of the film, after everyone in the war room learns that doomsday is nigh, and they discuss how they can survive in mine shafts and underground bunkers while the rest of the world burns. But in the face of annihilation, General Turgidson remains full-on game theory and explains to President Muffley how the U.S. cannot fall behind the Soviet Union in terms of mine shafts.
Supposing the Ruskies stashed away some big bomb, see, and we didn't. When they come out in 100 years, they could take over.
I agree, Mr. President. In fact, they might even try an immediate sneak attack so they could take over our mine shaft space.
Yeah, I think it'd be extremely naive of us, Mr. President, to imagine that these new developments are going to cause any change in Soviet expansionist policy. I mean, we must be increasingly on the alert to prevent them from taking over other mine shaft space.
So let's break this down. The moment General Turgidson begins strategizing over mine shafts, Sadsky, the Russian ambassador, rolls his eyes and begins to walk off. He seems to be the only adult in the room. Turgidson is a slave to the Cold Warrior programming responsible for this catastrophe. The ambassador's demeanor suggests that he might understand this. As he walks off into the background, I'm reminded of other instances where somebody walks away as the movie comes to some bittersweet or totally desperate conclusion. Dr. Strangelove could very well have ended in a similar way.
Yeah, I think it'd be extremely naive of us, Mr. President, to imagine that these new developments are going to cause any change in Soviet expansionist policy. I mean, we must be...
But it doesn't. Away from the eyes of the Americans, the ambassador crouches down and takes a picture of the war room with a spy camera. The world is coming to an end and he's gathering intelligence. He's just as goofy as the generals. Fully cognizant of the foolishness of others, he indignantly rolls his eyes while remaining fully committed to his own stupidity. This remarkable scene briefly baits and switches your sympathies, at least it did for me when I first watched it. Initially, the scene teases the audience with the possibility that somebody in this movie realizes how insane everyone else is. The irony is that it would be a Russian character rolling his eyes on our behalf, a truly radical notion in 1964. But alas, the possibility of comedic détente is quickly dispelled. Sadsky is a stooge.
Thank you, no. I do not support the work of imperialist stooges.
Oh, only commie stooges, huh?
Although everything takes place within a Cold War narrative, you could take this same dynamic and apply it to any other conflict, easily replacing the US generals and the Soviet spy with any other codependent pair of opposing positions. Republicans, Democrats, Socialists, Corporatists, religious fundamentalists, atheists, globalists, nationalists. In a less serious example, the generals could represent the New York Times music critics list of the 30 greatest living American songwriters, which included such questionable choices as Young Thug.
Come on!
Rolling his eyes, the ambassador would then represent the legions of Billy Joel fans angry that he had been left off the list.
I like Billy Joel. I just want to go on the record and say,
people who firmly believe that Billy Joel is one of the greatest American songwriters of all time, which is an equally dubious opinion. I mean, he's written plenty of good songs, but then he also wrote We Didn't Start the Fire, which is undeniably one of the worst songs of all time. What's good about this Dr. Strangelove conflict observation device is that you can insert your own opinions into the equation and gauge the correctness of your own beliefs. For example, the generals could be the aforementioned disgruntled Billy Joel fans, mad fools who don't realize, like I do, that Donald Fagen is actually the most important songwriter missing from the New York Times list. Then again, maybe I'm wrong. In 1963, at the same time Dr. Strangelove was in production, the first edition of the Principia Discordia was published. The book explained the tenets of Discordianism, a quasi-satirical religion that, in a direct reversal of religious dogma, questioned the very idea of belief. Through the use of humor, Discordianism encouraged the abandonment of destructive belief systems. Dr. Strangelove does the same. They're even titled in a similar fashion. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that the two are directly connected, but they both perform the same magic towards the same ends. Author and agnostic mystic Robert Anton Wilson was Discordianism's most prominent advocate. In Wilson's review of Stanley Kubrick's 1975 film, Barry Lyndon, which he called a philosophical Dr. Strangelove, Wilson explains how that film helps to forge this non-dualistic way of viewing human conflict. It's not neutrality, it's not spiritual bypassing, and it's not nihilism. It would be better to define tragedy as the conflict of ambiguity against ambiguity. The magnificent, almost Euripidean complexity of the final duel in Barry Lyndon is such that, on an emotional reflex level, one has been manipulated to sympathize with both parties and with neither of them. One can neither rejoice with the victor nor hate him, nor can one too easily pity the loser. One has been raised above the mammalian politics of the antagonists, cannot take sides any longer, and can only see with objective clarity the idiocy of the whole value system that made the tragedy as predictable as a cycle in astronomy. Barry Lyndon, Dr. Strangelove, and much of Kubrick's work serves as a complete rejection of the old Manichaean, black and white, me good, you evil paradigm in favor of a non-dualistic understanding of conflict.
You write born to kill on your helmet and you wear a peace button. What's that supposed to be, some kind of sick joke?
I think I was trying to suggest something about the duality of man, sir.
The what?
The duality of man, the Jungian thing, sir.
These films offer the viewer, if they are ready and willing, the ability to observe the political terrain and consider all the possibilities without combativeness, without emotionalism, without an egoistic allegiance to some opinion or set of symbols. If we can internalize this viewpoint and overcome our own self-righteous love affair with winning and punishing our enemies, we might be able to take some significant steps in human development. I know that sounds really lofty, but it's definitely worth considering, if only for our own peace of mind.